day 2 coming home from the hospital, and I'm convinced this chick is not breathing. And like in the hospital, there was a honeymoon period, everything is fine. And there's the nurses, like at the back of your mind, that there's support. So like you said the last time, the nurses are coming in, there's a doctor on call, there's what. But now we are home.
Yeah.
Now we are the ones responsible. If anything goes wrong, it's us.
Yeah.
So the first night, you even spend just listening to them breathing. Like, you're just afraid if they stop, you might miss it.
Yeah.
So if they get too quiet, yo, are you there? Okay, great.
Jambo. This is Sophie.
Hi, this is Melissa.
And hi, this is Wanjiru. And welcome to Ninja Parenting.
How you guys doing?
Yo,
Start.
no,
Someone
you seem
start.
like there's something burdening you. Me, I'm
no.
fine, actually. Yeah, I'm completely okay. I was hella late taking the children to school, but we were having too much fun on that drive today. Yeah. So I went, I did the walk of shame, arriving at the school, and there's no other parents in the parking lot. Okay, bye. Shh, don't say loudly. Just go.
Like everyone is in class.
Everyone was in class. Yes, people have
Whoa.
started. We got there at 8:30. Yeah, I
But
know.
of importance is you had fun.
We did.
Right?
We had a dance party this morning. We worked out together. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And
so
they
I
got to
regret
school.
nothing.
Yes.
Yeah, they arrived
I mean,
at
those
school.
are the moments they live for. In fact, if nothing else works out today,
I
decided
will
that they
remember
were
that.
good
Yes,
notes.
yes, and they made it. Yeah.
And you, Melissa?
Aye.
Tell us, what has happened?
could do with some more sleep, but most importantly,
Yes.
okay, kids, man. No, how do I get my whole outfit ready, ironed, and then the steamer goes, and I'm thinking I was ahead of KPLC.
Where?
Then the guy had a noise that startled him.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, "Mama!" And of course, you can't walk away from those cute eyes. So I picked him up, and the guy just peed on me. That was how. Like it was like 10 minutes before I left.
Sabotage. They don't want you to
Sabotage.
prosper.
Imagine. So now, but fortunately, KPLC really could, the steamer came back for 5 minutes
Just
enough
for
me
you
to
to-
just iron and leave. So we started on a high.
I'm even impressed that you ironed. I can't remember the last time I ironed anything.
Oh, yeah.
Me, my clothes come out of bottles. I just wear them and I'm like, judge me. I
don't
feel nothing.
It's part of your aesthetic.
Ironing. I cannot. I'm unable.
Oh, with the irony.
Kabisa. So, speaking of children messing up your day with pee and puke and poop. Ooh, the 3 P's. I just thought about it.
But you forgot mucus also. I don't know.
It's
I
in
just
there.
feel like it should be.
It
because
is in
ew.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, did we mention throwing up?
Yes,
pee,
pee,
puke,
and
and
poop.
Ma.
Yeah. Let's talk about kids getting sick and what that does to you and the entire household.
I think even before the sickness, there's the blowouts, because the blowouts are not necessarily sickness.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
just
life.
It's just life.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just a healthy poop session that goes viral.
Yes, it does go viral.
Hey, I remember my first. It was with you guys. My first.
Or rather, you're coming to meet us.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was coming to meet you guys. So
Yes.
it was our first, out of oh yeah, let's go as the moms.
With the
and
babies.
With the babies and our strollers. At cafe.
So ambitious.
Where?
Was it at cafe?
Lavington, yes.
Oh, yeah, Lavington Mall.
And so at the time, I guess it was in the beginning stages. So I parked right outside because you're thinking strategic parking.
Yes, yes.
Everybody can see. It was before their plants had overgrown.
Yeah.
Well, not overgrown, but grown to the extent of screening. And I was there and I'm like, okay, come out, get stroller, check her. Kid just starts going crazy. And then I go look at her and find that, Yani, she's in distress because there's this thing that is beginning to seep through all corners of the bucket seat.
Yeah.
And that bucket seat, that's the moment you realize it has so many
Many.
nooks and how many places can this thing permeate? It's just gone far. And I remember wondering, okay, so you always remember to pack a diaper bag for the baby, and it's so elaborate.
Yeah.
But at that point, the most you'll do for yourself is carry a nursing,
Shawl or
something,
yeah.
if you even have one.
Yeah.
And I remember just looking at her and thinking, okay, where do we begin to deal with this thing? And I remember lifting her from first before we got out of that bucket seat, because I don't know why they get so, because everything is just flying, the hands are flying, the legs are flying. So even to get them through those little straps is just chaotic. Then finally you're just holding them up like dirty laundry, like, okay, where do we begin with this?
Yeah.
Because she's dripping, but she's also screaming in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Everybody's wondering. You're wondering, are people thinking I'm stealing this child? What do we do? How do we handle this situation quickly? And I remember just thinking, okay, what do you do first, madam? And so I'm thinking, okay, we need to get this diaper off this child. But in the process, there's no way of doing that without the only way to calm this child is the boob.
Oh, man.
Right? And at this point, there's no cute time to remove at your nursing thing,
Yeah.
to cover up,
Yeah.
nothing.
And cover them in
Oh
gazette.
my God. I just put this child, I just remember sticking her to the boob.
Yeah.
Of course, which means me and my cute white
Yeah.
top
Is-
were in the
is
mix,
a
right?
wrap.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to remove, and then now trying to remove those clothes while she's breastfeeding and also upset. Because first of all, we're not latching because we're upset, right?
Yeah.
We're just all over the place. And I remember just putting on the boob and how we maneuvered removing clothes and just, quickly sticking back the boob before
Yeah.
she can start wailing again and wiping her down, trying to figure out where the bag is, wiping her down while you breastfeed. And changing, like that was the first time I felt like I activated Ninja Mom. Like we changed the diaper.
Octopus, you have
I
hands
know, like
everywhere
hands
doing all
everywhere,
that.
digging into wiping things. And then after all that, the child calms down. And these babes are just sitting overlooking the parking like, God, is she going to be fine? But we can't just leave our babies unattended.
Also.
And then finally, the whole calm, and then the baby has now finally so you have to do the whole routine of now sleepy, changing, finishing up, because all you managed to do was the diaper, finish up, the dress
The
up.
dressing.
She's now bap the baby, let her fall asleep. Then now you're like, okay, so
Now I
what
can
do we
deal
do with
with
ourselves?
The crime scene.
Because now it is me and this. So tip number 1, please always make sure you pack extra clothes for yourself too. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you had a blowout like the one she's described with any of your children?
Not exactly like she's described,
Yeah.
but blowouts have been many. There's been times when it's you're somewhere where you're not near any sort of like amenities, because I'm just thinking the only way to get rid of this much poop, it's in the hair, it's everywhere.
Yeah,
Like the only way to
hose
deal
that
with this
baby
thing is
down.
you need water.
Yeah.
Yeah, as in there's times I've actually thrown away clothes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just can't. I can't deal with
It's
this.
the
I'm not
point of
taking
no
this
return.
home to wash it. I'm not leaving it in my car. Like you're on the road to Naivasha. You're not even at your destination. You're on the road somewhere. It's like, I can't deal with this. I'm not going to sit with the smell of poop in my car for another hour. So just boil them up and toss them. Like, yeah, thanks. It's been real. Move on.
Mm-hmm.
Even the child, sometimes you really debate. Like,
Yeah, I leave
we
it
need
here.
this. Yeah, we just leave it because it's a liability. I don't know if we're going to arrive safely or what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't have the bright idea of even having like a diaper, not a diaper, sorry, like a potty in the car like you guys, because that is very helpful. I wish I had thought about that. Anywho, yeah. The blowouts have been many. Children
Yeah.
have been washed in the sink of a mall. Yeah, you just put them inside. It's okay. Cold water. We just ongeza, we splash, we do hand wash. Somebody comes in, not your
We
business.
understand your struggle.
No, just ignore me. I'm just washing my baby over here. Finish the whole packet of wet wipes. But yeah, you're right. You forget to pack for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
But it's interesting what you're saying, because even the facilities that you're visiting, like the malls, are not really equipped for a proper
Oh gosh.
changing
situation.
Yeah. If you're lucky, they have the table. If you're
And that's
lucky.
it.
And that's it. And it's only in the women's, right? For
Yeah.
the most part.
And it's not near a sink.
It's not near a
bin.
sink. There's no water
It's not
source.
lines.
Yeah.
It doesn't have anything.
Actually, and this now I'm happy to even plug and say the only mall that I have been to in this country that has a good family room is actually the Hub.
Yeah.
That is the only, and all these other malls have
Something.
done themselves. They've done phase 1, phase 2,
Yeah.
all these things, renamed themselves, but they do not have facilities for families.
Yeah.
Which is so sad.
Yeah.
I remember bumping into two guys
Yeah.
with a son who needed to change again. They were having a blowout situation. It was a very renowned mall here in Westlands. And the guys, as I was walking out of the loo, I
Yeah.
find them walking into the ladies and they're in distress. They're like, is there a changing spot?
Yeah.
And even I was like, actually, I have not seen one. And I told him, just hold on, let me check for you.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the ladies in the bathroom are like, the man. I'm like, but where do you expect him to go and
do
change
this?
his style?
Yeah.
So I told him, just wait. Let me go check for you. Went, checked, found there wasn't one. upset.
Yeah.
Then I came back and told him, okay, here there isn't one, but I think I saw signs for
Changing
something.
Yeah.
And even, do you know the sign only has a woman and a baby?
Mm.
I'm like,
I
in
know
this
that
day and
room.
age. And so we're here trying to, because honestly, I had said, if there's a changing room in this place, I was going to stand there
Stand
and help
guard.
and just be like, yeah, y'all go about your business. I'll let you know if there's, I'll be the security there.
Yeah.
But why does, we're thinking about it. We have a bunch of girls all together. When they're with their dads,
Where would they
It's
go?
rough, yeah.
It's really rough
Yeah.
because that's how we ended up having a potty in the car.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, so now he can't take his daughters out because when somebody says, I need to susu,
Yeah.
it's a whole
What does he do?
logistic.
Yeah.
Or you have to give your child to a stranger.
Or they
to
go
take
into
your
the
child-
men's. They go into the nini,
They
the
just
men's
have to.
loo, or they do the bushes. Or
It's true. Or
they come back with different
I know that
clothes
people have
because
had
accidents.
to stand outside the ladies' room and just look out for a lady and just be like, please help my daughter
Yeah.
to go to the toilet.
It's
It's
it's really it's terrible for the family setup itself, for the women themselves, because again, some of these facilities are just the bare minimum. Like you're saying, there's no water. I remember I've had 2 major blowouts. The first one was on a road trip. And it happened at around 7 p.m. on Limuru Road. So we're coming from Naivasha and we had to pull over the road. And this thing had come like it's an alien life form. It's almost in the ears.
Yeah.
That's how far it has traveled.
Yeah.
And trying to change the kid on the side of the road, those trailers are just... That's the
Every time
only
it
sound
touches
you're
the car
hearing.
goes like this.
And then the child is now in hysterics because of what is happening. You're trying to remove the clothes.
And it's 7. It's usiku.
It's
So you're also
usiku.
feeling unsafe.
Yes.
Yeah.
But there's no place like we can say pull over at the petrol station there and we can do this. So there's nothing around. And even if you went to a petty, they don't have such a setup.
That's another sad part. Yeah, even the gas stations along the roads
don't
are
have
terrible.
such a
Even you
setup.
yourself,
Can't
you're just
use the
thinking.
internet.
I mean, I keep thinking when I'm taking a road trip, I have to really think about my liquid
Must I
intake
drink water?
because
Yeah.
I'm like distance between here and because the toilets are not going to be, and first of all, it's almost like you're begging. First you're pressed, then you're almost begging for the key. It's like, back there, over there. And then it's one of those you can't go in and you just have to mentally prepare for whatever the Lord will,
whatever you'll find.
Whatever you'll find in there.
Yeah.
Then the washing of hands, like just sanitation.
Yeah,
Just
it's
something
really
else.
terrible. So
Yeah.
now imagine you're doing that with young
A child,
children.
yeah.
And so we managed eventually to settle the situation. But it was just one of those things you're like, man, if people are thinking about families, really, there's not much thought about this part of being a parent, that your children need to use facilities, that facilities should be conducive for any age.
Yeah.
From 0 to 99, because even older people cannot use many of these facilities. They're not conducive for their movement, if they have canes and all of that. And another blowout, which was like the one you've described of throwing away things, it happened at a restaurant. And Nambi was 2 or 3. Hey, you guys. The thing that she removed from her body, I was like, how is this even? And then she's walking with it. I'm like, how are you even walking? How are you even walking? Because
So you're seeing
it was
the
like
baggage.
an oatmeal laden.
Yeah.
And I was like, so we tried the wiping.
Yeah.
I got to a place of we have to throw everything.
Yeah.
And then there's no place to throw it.
Yeah,
As well,
Right?
yeah.
True,
So I was like, do I put it in the
The one for pads.
main bin,
the pad one?
Yeah.
or
Or
throw
the
it into
main?
the one for the hands,
which
and
is
then now
open,
everybody
it's
will
not
be
closed.
stinky.
Yeah.
It'll stink up the whole
Smelly.
space.
Yeah. And then you just leave there, like never go back to that restaurant again.
Yeah, because it's a biohazard. Now you're dealing with a biohazard, a crime. And it's just like, again, there's not... They need a place where you can hold somebody down and just be like, okay, let's just manage this.
Yes.
And also, another thing that people forget is, and a lot of these spots need to think about, even restaurants, is that that room needs to actually have also an adult toilet as well. Because what happens when I'm pressed, I have my little baby, the toilets you guys have are like, oh my gosh.
It's a small cubicle, so there's a stroller, there's the shopping mini cart.
So what do I do with myself?
Yes.
What do I do with myself and my
yeah.
children? We can't all fit in here. So even that family room needs to be something that can accommodate all of us.
Yeah.
Me and my 3 children can go in there,
stroller.
I sort
Shopping
everybody
cart,
out,
yes.
plus myself.
Yeah.
Because after that now I have to come out, then go look for another spot.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
It's such a logistic. It's not going to make me want to come and shop at your
even for
location.
safety. Like I remember having to go into, I would pick the last cubicle in wherever we are, the one right at the end, kabisa. Then I go park the stroller there. I tell the two others, everybody shikilia the stroller like this, the door open, and then I want you singing loudly because I want to know
That you're
present.
there.
Yeah, so I need everybody to start singing so that I can hear that you're still in the area. You haven't wandered off.
I just end
doing
up using
something.
the disabled toilet, which is sad because then you're like the real person who will need it.
Yeah, if they come and you're...
won't actually have access to it and they're giving you the stink eye.
Yeah,
but now what do? We are all disabled at this point. You know?
I know, you and your children are liabilities. So, and you know, we started off talking about poops.
Yeah, then that's
And
just the
really,
stuff.
you know, part of this segues nicely into what do you do with when you have a sick child, especially in the early days. And if you're a new time, first time mom, dad, and you're just trying to figure out what is happening. And it's usually happening in the middle of the night that this chaos is unfolding.
Oh,
Kids always get sick at night.
Anybody, actually, even us.
Yeah.
But them especially, they ratchet it up
terrible.
when it's bedtime.
They wait.
They wait until 12.
And then it's like incremental from 9 o'clock, slight fever, 10, midnight, we're at its peak.
yeah,
You can be uttering motor this child.
yeah. And so it's figuring out how do you navigate that time. I remember for me the first one was with Pendo. She had a terrible cough that was not clearing, and we'd gone to the hospital several times, and I'd come home with the entire pharmacy. There was a steroid, there was an antibiotic, there's a syrup, there's an anti-nasal drip, there's everything. But then none of these things are working. And it's around 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I have Nambi, who I'm also taking care of. Ted is out of town. And I'm thinking, you guys. So she's coughing. And it's one of these coughs that I just had to ignore.
Yeah.
Deep. And so I'm just like, now what do we do? We've been already to the hospital. None of these things are working. I'm even getting mad at her because she's not responding.
Just stop coughing.
Yeah. I was like, I'm like, just stop it now.
Yeah.
Okay. So I remember this situation. I feel so bad now when I think about it because she was just there. She was just coughing her little heart out. She's trying to she was holding her lips so she doesn't cough because I'm getting upset now. And then I end up having to take Nambi to the neighbors at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I'm just knocking the door. I'm like, you guys, I have to take Pendo back.
Yeah.
So driving like a lunatic on the highway. She has no fever.
Yeah.
So I'm even wondering, we'll get there and this thing will stop.
Immediately. Oh, yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, you're right at the
all the
hospital.
symptoms
And then
the
they
child is
pour
fine.
Yeah.
And the doctor is like, Mama, are you okay? Is it you who needed to come, Mama, the child?
Yes.
So anyway, we've been through this several weeks now where she has this terrible cough. And then we later find out that she has asthma. That is why. But I remember just thinking, how do you do... And I'm trying to think if you're doing this alone. And I didn't have a live-in at the time because you know how I roll. I am that mom of, I know how to do everything. Leave me. So I was just like, how do you guys deal with those moments when the kid is sick? You have multiple kids also.
Yeah.
Maybe you have a partner or maybe you don't have anybody. How do you navigate that?
And it can get scary. Okay, I remember my first one, which was a false alarm. So disclaimer before the story gets too far, she was fine. She's okay. But day 2, coming home from the hospital, and I'm convinced this chick is not breathing. And you know, like in the hospital, there was a honeymoon period, everything is fine. And you know, there's the nurses, like at the back of your mind, you know that there's support. So like you said the last time, the nurses are coming in, there's a doctor on call, there's what. But now we are home.
Yeah.
Now we are the ones responsible. If anything goes wrong, it's us.
Yeah.
So the first night, you even spend just listening to them breathing. Like you're just afraid if they stop, you might miss it.
Yeah.
So if they get too quiet, yo, are you there? Okay, great. No problem. So day 2, this chick is breathing funny. I don't understand what's going on. It's coming with a whistling noise. And my heart was just racing because, first of all, please, guys, if your child is sick, don't Google. Just don't
ever.
Just don't Google. It's the worst thing in the
call
world
your
because
pediatrician.
now, me, I was convinced my child is dying. Put the baby in the car at about 6 in the evening and we go straight to the hospital because I know this child is not lasting another day. We need to go now. There's no fever, by the way. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
But she's breathing and it's whistling. We get to the hospital and they do triage, they check the temperature, check the heart,
Yeah.
Like, okay, this doesn't seem like an emergency, but sir, let's go in and see the doctor. And the doctor tells me, yeah, so she just has a booger in her nose. It's just makamasi, just relax, But I remember the whole trip there, how my heart was racing, how terrifying it was.
Yeah.
And it's not something you can even call somebody, like, unless I put the phone on their face so that
So you can
like,
hear.
yeah, just listen, And there were many like that. There was one night she spit up and it was lime green, like nuclear color, And again, I went on to Google because I hadn't learned my lesson the first time. And man.
Google is like, you have to remove the gallbladder.
And I
Grab
remember-
the knife from the kitchen sink. Sanitize the area.
Whiskey.
Now. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Google is the worst.
It is.
Yeah.
It's terrible. But I remember at least being able to message you guys. And even though you didn't know what it was, talking about it with you helped me to just calm down. Okay, so she didn't have a fever. In fact, she wasn't even crying. Like the spit up just came and it was brightly colored, but she seemed fine.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you guys just helped me to calm down and to diagnose it. But in that season, it helped a lot to have the pediatrician on call as well. I finally learned that, they're human beings, that you can actually call them and say, hey, I need help. Something is going wrong. I don't understand it.
Yeah.
And they'll quickly tell you, these are the checks, A, B, C, So are they breathing okay? Are they acting normally? Are they feeding normally? Do they have a fever?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then once you do the triage for yourself, you're like, okay, so
You
this
can
can
decide.
wait until morning.
Yeah.
We can see, we can observe.
So
Yeah.
when you have a pediatrician on call, do they bill you for every call? Like, how does that work?
Okay, well, mine hasn't.
Yeah, even mine never. But then there's certain things they'll tell you it's better than you come in and you see. So
Yeah.
if it's an emergency, they'll let you know, go to the emergency room immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not we're sitting there now chatting. Yeah, and then his knee usually does this weird thing also.
Yeah.
Yeah, at some point she'll be like, just come in. But most of the time they've been very gracious to just say, yeah, it's okay, relax. This one seems fine. We'll see you in the morning.
Or it will be if it's after hours. I guess it also depends on your pediatrician. There are those that are available. There are those that aren't.
Yeah.
But so it's the important thing is to get somebody who you can reach in the event of
anything.
But then if you're not, I always say also trust your gut. You're better off going and finding it's nothing than having sat and said, just go get yourself to any emergency room.
Yeah.
They always have, the good thing is nowadays, it's not like back in the day for our parents where it was only Gertrude's. You can go to any hospital and they do have a pediatric section, and you'll get good help there. At the very least, the basics will get taken care of, and then you can always ask them to call your pediatrician if there's anything major they're going to do. Let them consult with your pediatrician.
Because they have a history.
Because they have a history and everything, and then now at least the best part is then if there's anything major, your pediatrician can then step in and now give the proper care with the background information.
Yeah.
Mine has been we've had roller coasters. I think us guys went into the deep end very, very fast. But I think even just to, first of all, dumb it down, or just the bare basics that I think I remember starting off with that I felt are, before we go into this heavy stage of pharmacists, opening a pharmacy, is just the basics. I think for me, I remember having Infacol, which is for breastfeeding. When your baby has gas, colic, that was like a game changer for me. Then you'd be able to just know if the baby is really screaming, try some Infacol.
Yeah.
It would be incremental for like there are steps in this. And again, I'm not a professional. These are the things I did.
Yeah.
I don't know if, check with your pediatrician. But for me, it was Infacol. I would give the baby a few drops if I found that there's colic, a lot during the feeding. As I now inspect or kind of go into an inquiry of figuring out what could be causing the foods that I could be eating, because it's you. Most times it's what you're ingesting. So there was Infacol. I always had Panadol, the syrup.
The syrup.
Then I quickly learned about Adol or
is-
Paradol. It's a suppository. So it's a paracetamol.
Yeah.
It's a paracetamol, but it's very quick fever relief. Because usually it's like, I think once it goes through.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
There's no
explain,
digestion.
A suppository it goes up the butt.
Yeah.
Guys.
And it's absorbed.
And it's
Yes.
absorbed much faster into the system than it would the syrup. Because if you take a syrup, if you have a fever, by the way, it takes about 45 to an hour before it calms down. So you want something that, especially if you are running fevers above like 38 there, you really want to
Or if
kill
your
that
kid is
fever
throwing
fast.
up
Or
as well.
Yeah.
But
Or
the
if
best
it-
part actually is to make sure. In fact, one of the things I learned very quickly was that if you guys are having a high fever, manage it from home. Like give the child something as you're going to hospital. So have the suppository, give it, and as you go to hospital,
Yeah.
so that at least while you're driving or whatever, and then remove all their clothes. This whole notion of ataskia baridi, please
Kenyan babies
undress
freeze.
that child, whether
Yeah.
it is raining, like if it's in the middle of a monsoon, whatever it is. Remove that babies, strip them down to their bare minimum, to their diaper. They will not. They need to cool down as fast as possible. Do not try to put on any clothes on them. In fact, even when you get there, that's the first thing. The first thing they'll do is give your child that suppository you've not given them. And number two, they'll strip down your child. And then you'll be given your child to sit with, to go outside and cool down so that they can, and then they keep monitoring the temperature. So do those things as a quick, whatever, as you head to the hospital. So that was a suppository, Infacol. So in the order would be Infacol. If there was a problem, then I'd give them the Panadol
Yeah.
syrup if it was gas related or suspecting gas related. If it was fever, it would be Infacol. If it's got already high, Adol. If it's high, I'd do the Adol first so that we can try and calm things
thermometer,
down. And
I'm
of
assuming.
course, a thermometer.
Yeah.
Because how do you even know it's high in the first place? You measure.
Did you measure the rectally?
No.
I always did that one.
But I guess it's quick enough.
That
People say
reading-
it's reading. It's very,
Yeah.
very
It's more
accurate.
accurate.
It's more accurate than the armpit. And
Or
of
the-
course, you can't do under the tongue when they're screaming.
No, it's
Yeah.
not possible.
So-
So I do remember that, the
Yeah.
thermometer. So now, beyond that now, I guess I remember having fevers for us because one of the things now, I guess with time, you begin to learn your child.
Yeah.
For us, it was with high fevers. Anywhere I'd start seeing any 38, 39, 38, 30, as you try to really curb it. Sometimes, even with stubborn fevers, that this one now, we're definitely going to go and we'll be asked for a blood test for sure, because you're like, these fevers that are not, if it's not even listening to adult, actually it's possible that sometimes fevers can get so terrible. We've had those, that it's so terrible that at the point, but it was doctor instructed before that, was they'd send us home with cataflam. So they'd be like, if it's not going down within the next 30 minutes with the adult, give them some cataflam top. Man, that thing. But we've also had fevers that don't even listen to the two. So at that point, you had better just you've stripped down your child, you've put ice, you've put a cold compress on the head, you've done everything. We're doing these things as we're going to hospital now. Because at this point, if your child gets to 40, they can have a seizure.
I like what happens usually on those trips is your husband is like, so now, what is happening? And you're like,
Yes, indeed.
I don't know
what is happening.
but I'm throwing everything at it.
It's true, yeah. Because I remember a time when we did have, it was so funny. At some point, I think when you've gotten into the mom docs stage or mom pharmacist and when you just start, I think once you've gone through it once or twice, you're just like, hey, we know how this goes.
Yeah.
So as you're just like, hit it with this, you say, hit it with the, this one is not too high, maybe let's read it, whatever. Or this one is, this is bad.
Yeah.
Crack the, give the, and even on the phone, and it's important also to really go through these motions also if you have a live-in, to really make sure, one, they have first aid training. Number two, is that they also understand all the medication that you have in your house and what it does and what it's for. So it's never, for me, when I'm doing it, it's never a secret. We always do it to the nanny, and even my husband is also on tour, because everybody needs to know. So when I'm sending you, if you're calling me and I'm out at work, and we're telling me, okay, number one, nasikia mtoto ako na joto, umempima, ako na ngapi, you tell me. Then we go, okay, this one ends na ile adult iko hapa and we always have the kit somewhere. So even they know when you're telling them, give this, monitor this, they're calling you, also make sure you're also appraising the people around you, so it's not just your own best kept secret. And I do remember one time when I was throwing everything at it and the fever wasn't going down, eventually I was just like, let's just give this babe now cataflam as we go. And he's like, what is this cataflam? I've never even heard of. How do you know it's going to be? Is it going to, I was like, so he was like, no, let's just leave that. We've already given the adult. I was like, it's past 30 minutes. This thing is not working. This fever is just going higher. Let's hit her with cataflam as we go. And I do remember he was like, no, let's just cool it on the medicine. Let's go. I was like, okay, so undress the kid. Me, I'll drive. You sit to the baby at the back. We got there. The first thing they gave, cataflam. I was like, bruh, next time, trust me.
But and you see, in a way, that's why then they keep looking at you like
true.
you know
That's
everything.
true. Yeah.
What is the meaning of this itch, this rash, this pimple, this headache? She's complaining. Ted always comes to tell me she's complaining about. I was like, okay, so what do you need to do? Oh, now it's a whole discussion about what he needs to do. All the meds sit in a place where everyone has access
communal.
to. Yes,
Yeah.
but I always get asked, I was like, I have to tell them, do you guys know that I'm not a doctor?
It's true.
Do you actually know that I am not an expert in any of these things? I'm just also winging it
Yeah.
and
But there's
hoping for
something
the
about the
best.
fact that if you're the one who spends a lot of time with the child as the primary caregiver, then instinctively some of these things just come. Like there's decisions I can't justify right now, but I'm like, I just know. Yeah, because I've even seen the lead up to it, let's say, so at 4 o'clock, this child is hyper. You're peeling them off the walls. You're like, "Uyu ni mgonjwa." Somebody else is looking and thinking, but they're
Exactly.
yeah,
And
they
within
look
an
like
hour.
they're happy. They look like they're fine.
Yes.
Me, I'm just like, no. I can see this. I know how this is going to go. This hyperness, and then there's like the eyes are just crazy eyes. It's like this one. Let me just get ready. We're going to the hospital today. Yeah, because all of them respond differently. Yeah, or a cough today, just once, and you're just like.
Escalation.
Wekelea dawa. Yeah, because you just know it's coming. Yeah.
And it's just, I think the thing for me was the tipping point where it was now beyond what we could manage at home. And I think those were the scary parts.
Yeah.
It was you're going in, you've tried to manage the fever, you've done everything you can because you check in, she's like, okay, what have you given the child? Or like this fever side at this time, you have the history, you have the, and, the progression of it. And I guess that's another thing maybe that maybe where we tend to be more observant. I don't know. I don't know that it's a woman thing but there are men who also have that instinct.
Yeah.
But most times, I don't know whether it's the fact that we know their children so well. We've seen the progression that by the time you're getting there, I mean, it's the questions of, so when did this start? It's we were both together, but you're the one who noticed, and just the realization of, so have you given this? Yes, this many minutes ago, and it's not gone down. After that, it's gone into this, we've done this, we've given this. So far you've given them everything possibly they could have given or done. And at this point, it's them seeing them beginning to panic. And they're just like, okay, now we need to send you for blood tests, we need to do this, we need to do this, go do this, and it's like, well, here, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to admit you. Man, that thing just makes your heart just sink. It's there's nothing we can do. And I think for ours, because we had a rough journey before we came to realize that we started frequently when they started school. You know how you think it's just a cold, but then you come to realize that cough is not just a cough. That congestion is not just congestion, or it might have been sparked by a cold, but then you come to realize that now your child has something deeper.
Yeah.
And for us, we came to discover that our kids have allergies. And we didn't know that the allergies were enhanced by the foods that they eat. Like once they have the infection in the body, certain foods trigger them more. And we didn't even, some of them, in fact, were just even started off by the food. So we had been admitted about 3 times with my firstborn within the year. Before we found, and it was, you're going in, she's having problems breathing, her nose is in, everything, the whole ENT system is just inflamed. The ears, the nose, the throat. And then it all what would happen is then that her adenoids would get enlarged, because we all have adenoids. They get enlarged or inflamed because of certain things you eat. And so it closes up the system, then starts to formulate mucus, has postnasal drip, which is basically the back, I guess it's all connected, going down the throat into the chest, dripping into the lungs. It starts getting the phlegm or the mucus starts to whatever there, and then it just incubates and becomes
whatever.
And becomes, for us, they turn into pneumonia.
Yeah.
So most times people think pneumonia is basically because mtoto alikuwa nje kwa baridi. They were just out in the cold.
Yeah.
That's never been the case for us. So there's also now the judgment that would come with, see, your children wear sweaters all the time. Have you people been, your house is cold, put on sweaters. But that's not really
these are infections.
So it took us being admitted 3 times to get to the point where the doctor began, and that's the beauty about having a good pediatrician. It's the pediatrician who's constantly asking the whys. They're not getting complacent or comfortable with this is the way this child is.
Yeah.
And she just kept trying and probing until she was like, you know what?
Check
no,
this.
is not adding up.
Mm-hmm.
This is the history we've been looking. Let us run a test, an allergy test. And she sent us to this doctor who then it's like a needle test, sort of. It's like, it looks like goes to
skin prick.
acupuncture, the skin
Yeah.
prick. So they take different samples of food and they begin to now introduce them to the skin. And so when you see reddening on those spots, then you
This
know
is
that
an
other things.
allergy.
Hey, a babe was allergic to like everything we were eating. It was like honey, citrus, wheat, cow dairy, all the things she loved.
Yeah.
So now tell me, I mean, I remember we were given the list, and at the time she was like 2.5, going to 3. And I remember after she had, because the doctor now also tries to get the kids to learn what when they're not allowed. And as we're looking at this list, like, we're basically throwing everything out and I don't know what we'll be eating. And I remember her asking, so mommy, I can't have, so she listened to the list and she said, so I can only have water. It was like, because literally that's the only thing that had not been mentioned that she eats every day.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, wheat, how many things have wheat?
Everything.
Bread, it's everything. And even when you start
pasta.
reading labels, it's
Yeah.
even in things like soy sauce, your
Spices.
sausages, your spices. I mean, you're like, where do you even begin? So you start the commission of inquiry and going, and then now you begin to discover a whole other world of things that you can
foods.
do and foods.
Yeah.
That goat milk is a wonderful substitute for children with allergies, and camel milk, you know.
Camel milk.
But can you imagine now?
There at camel milk is where we
We drew the line. Even the kids
we
were like,
shukisha the bus. Ati what?
it's true.
I know, but
it's-
if you have to eat, you have
if
to
you
eat.
have to, and
Yeah.
if the kids get used to it, then that's what it is.
That is all it is.
So I guess
Yeah.
it's and as a mother, don't give up, or as a parent, actually, don't give up on, if you have a hunch about something, just keep seeing the different doctors you need to see till you get to the bottom of it. You never know what it might be. Yeah.
It's difficult because, you know, the way we deal with doctors for most of us is they are the ones with the knowledge.
Yeah.
They know everything. They speak fast and last, and we don't question. We sit quietly. We, you know, put our hands on our laps in submission. So it's really challenging to find doctors who are willing to engage you as a parent, especially when you're talking about things that you know and see, right? Because there's no doctor who can care for your child more than you. As good as they are at their jobs, you are still the parent who knows and is fully aware of what this child is going through. I have similar stories with the allergies. And for us, we found out that Pendo is allergic to nuts. And it was usually with her just reacting. Thankfully, her reaction is not dramatic, you know, the ones with closing up of the airways and all of that. So she doesn't need like an EpiPen, but her reaction is instant. She eats this thing and it just comes out. That vomit of it hits you on the back of the head when you're driving. And you're like, I'm unable to proceed. So, but then, you know, going to a doctor, an African doctor, and you're like, my child has a nut allergy. He's like, that Google, you need to turn it off. You know, that gives you that
Western
reaction.
issues.
So imagine telling a doctor that your child has a wheat gluten.
Yeah.
It's like you need to get off
Cow
those
milk.
mitandaos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cow milk.
I had about terrible doctors who don't listen.
Yeah.
I'll spare the names. But so my son had a bit of a challenge. So we had to. Now the doctor was like, you feel like, because she's just learned nowadays, she even asks, even when we're being like, if there's medicine to be given, she's always like, so Melissa, what do you have? I'm like, do you have do you have okay, do you need replenishing with yeah, you know, even if it's my husband who's gone, they have to put me on speakerphone for like, oh, what do you have in there?
What do you need? in your pharmacy?
She has everything. But I remember this one time she said, now send me, and what I love about her is when she doesn't know, she'll then refer you to the next to a specialist. And you know what? Honestly, I am going to plug my doctor. She's been the best since sliced bread. Dr. Joy Mpata at Nairobi Hospital has been my saving grace with my children. And I know children in even my nephews and everybody who've gone through her. And she's just, for me, she's amazing. Every time I go to her, if I see a different doctor, I'll have to go back. Because she's the only one who manages to just look through. And she's just very intuitive for me.
Yeah.
And so I do remember her referring me to a specialist for my son. And I went to see this guy. And I'm trying to explain to him what I have observed with my child.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I've noticed this and that and that and that. Do you know the guy sat down for now 30 minutes to lecture me about how you women who go to the salon and you sit down and start forming up or conjuring up its symptoms
You
for your
didn't
child.
walk out?
I was so First, I was with my mom.
Oh.
So I'm just like, listen, I was like, I really had to hold my tongue because I'm just like, this is an old man.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a thin line between respect and like, I was so upset. Do you know? Yeah, he's like, you women just sit down in the salon and just come up with all these
Wow.
symptoms. Yeah, you young girls, even like my daughter, you and my daughter, you people are in the same. Yeah, we've all
And you're
been
paying him
Thanks.
consultation, by
Yeah.
the
Thank
way.
you.
Which
and
is
he's like, and I
4K
don't
and
want
up.
to see you roaming around these streets anymore.
I don't.
This child of yours is okay. I'm like, sorry.
Excuse me?
I was so annoyed.
Yeah.
I just left.
Yeah.
In fact, I was just like, imagine we're not paying this bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
what nonsense is that? You've not helped me. You've not done.
You've
You've
even
not
abused
listened.
me.
And on top of
And you
that,
put me down?
You've not even observed.
Yeah.
You've not even looked at this child and opened him up and seen, hey, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That can
First,
boil
and
your blood.
and you know the annoying thing is sometimes what that happens, and that's happened to me several times, where you go to a different doctor, and because you're a lady, they always just assume that you over sensationalize
Yeah.
things, or you're over dramatic about things. I do remember even with my surgery for my daughter, she's had 2 surgeries now, the first one, and it has been a journey. But I remember going back after the first surgery, we had to remove her adenoids and her tonsils.
Yeah.
And after less than 6 months, which is not typical, because even when you research, it's not typical for them to have grown back that quickly. Yes, they do, but
Yeah.
it can't be that quickly.
Now, which grows back? The adenoids.
The adenoids. So I'm like, why are we still here having this problem? Why are we here again with this pneumonia? With this and I'm like, this thing has not looked like it's improved since we did this surgery.
Yeah.
And I remember the doctor just being like, and even before the surgery, I'm the one who pushed for it, because I was like, this is now at a level where it's interrupting her school.
Yeah.
Every time she's either missing an exam, mid-term or end-term, it's affecting the quality of her life. I think this is, at what point did you pull the trigger and say, let us now please remove this thing surgically? And he was like, no, it doesn't seem like it's a problem. 3 months later, we were back, admitted, going in for surgery for the same thing I had requested for. Then we go into the surgery. 3 months later, we are back again, admitted. Why? Apparently, they decided to just do the adenoids and it's called adenotonsillitis, or the removal. But then turns out that when the adenoids are removed from the throat, they don't really
Get the whole thing.
Oh.
But did they tell you that?
No.
But they were like, but in most cases,
Yeah.
you should be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. But now we are back, and
Yeah.
I'm telling you there's a problem. It's
Yeah.
like, no. It doesn't seem as bad as it was the last time. 3 months later, we were back again, doing the surgery again, So at what point, I guess it's just that whole, but imagine, fight for your child, stick to your gut. You might, and go to as many doctors as you need to. Do your research, and then just trust your gut.
And Facebook groups are good for that, for information and support. I found that there's so many groups where they talk about conditions of whatever kind. And a lot of people have been on this journey perhaps much longer than you. So they have like the checklist, check this, try this medicine, ask for this doctor, see this specialist. So those are really good places to not to freak out and go down another rabbit hole, but really for that information which is neutral. It's not sensational, especially when you're meeting a lot of resistance from the medical profession, or maybe you're dealing with a condition that is so rare that even your doctor is not familiar with. I remember years ago, a friend of mine from the States visited Nairobi or Kenya for the first time, and naturally he got malaria. And then he went back home. So that's when now the disease is manifesting. He has malaria in the States where they have never
They don't
seen
even have,
Yeah.
oh gosh.
malaria.
Yeah.
And he's like, he has his fevers, he's in and out of consciousness. He's about to enter the ICU.
Yeah.
And then they're like, where have you traveled? They call us. We're like, that sounds like malaria. They're like, what do you use? You're like, this and this.
Yes.
Like, I ponad. But yeah.
But, and people have died.
They die
yeah,
because they don't know what they're dealing with.
It's
So
true.
it's so exotic in
Yeah.
those parts of the world to have
Yeah.
a malaria.
I like what you said though about both of you about like empowering yourself, because the doctor knows a lot. They have a lot of education and theory, but you play a hand as well in guiding some of the way the decision making happens and everything. Like, be empowered by doing your research, by reading, by speaking up for your child. And that's scary.
And speaking.
Yeah.
Because you'll be shocked at how just sharing, even just being in a room and, just, a simple conversation like this weekend we were at a party and, you have to literally go and ask the menu, really go through the menu with a fine tooth comb.
Yeah.
It sounds
Yeah.
prissy, but it's
It's
you're just
life
like
or
me. I know
death.
where we're going to end up,
Yeah.
So it'll be like, does this have honey?
Does it have
fruit?
nuts?
Does it
Yeah.
have? And you're just seeing everybody looking at you like, yeah.
She's that big.
So your
Don't
child
talk to me,
has
please.
no, but they're just like, Ati, what? It's a conversation starter. And at the table, then you'd see people. You'd see someone who's like, oh, I've been noticing my child has. How did you realize? I was like, I'd noticed that they'd snore if they had something that was, or they'd do this, or And then that conversation, as you speak, somebody else might, or someone else might have information that might help you. Because some of those things will be told, hey, have you tried this? Or even just coming to realize different things you can have or eat. I'm just like, I discover anunga, somebody else is like, oh, I've discovered I'm, intolerant to wheat. I'm like, hey, this is the plug. You like chapos. This flour will help you out. If you like this. Or, so what do you guys do for pasta? I'm like, rice sticks.
We do ugali for
They're okay,
pasta. Also, we moved from that poshness.
But
Yeah,
then,
As an option.
as an option. But
I'm
if you
just
speak out, so I guess sometimes we fear so much to be able to just share what's happening.
Yeah.
And yet in that sharing, you never know who you might come across who might help you out. Yeah.
And that's what this episode is about, really. It's about helping families who have children that fall sick, which is what they do. They get injured. They do all manner of things to scare us. And it's
Their
just
sole purpose
it's really to
to-
scare us. So it's letting you know that there's ways to learn more about your child's health and being on top of it and taking it seriously, especially with the medical profession as it is. So it's been an interesting
one. But we can't end it without being like, the reason why we call Dr. Soph is because this babe, we've seen her gather files for her child and going to the doctor and being like, this is research I have done that has shown that this study.
I know.
One of those books was in another language, right?
I know. And she
I have-
translated it. I'm telling
Yeah.
you. So determination is key.
Absolutely.
And it's paid off.
Yeah.
It pays off.
Yeah.
So be that parent, like you said, for your child. Just know that what you're saying is right and that people need to listen to you, and look at working with a doctor as a relationship. You're working together and it's not that they know everything and they make all the rules. It's like, because you can live. And in fact, you're paying.
Yeah.
Right?
In fact, and I respect the fact that I'm okay with, I did my research. I came in and I have a pressing concern. And you've done everything, like we've done all the tests, and then in the end you come and tell me, but you see, we've run everything. Actually, there's nothing. That I can totally respect and understand.
love,
Because you've listened, you've probed, and you found truly there's nothing to be concerned about,
But when you shut me down from the gate over there, no.
I'll ninja parent you.
Yeah.
All right, ladies.
Yeah.
That was Tamu. See you.
And the next one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.